We begin with a developing story here in Japan. Hashimoto Seiko has officially been chosen as the president of the Tokyo Games Organizing Committee. In order to maintain political neutrality, she stepped down from her cabinet position as Olympics minister.
The Tokyo Games are just 5 months away, and we have to secure safety for Japan and the world. The most important issue is coronavirus prevention.
The 56-year-old is an Olympic heavyweight herself. She competed in 4 winter games in speed skating and 3 summer games in cycling. Hashimoto will have the task of moving organizers beyond an international controversy sparked by her predecessor, Mori Yoshiro. He stepped down last week after making seemingly sexist remarks that unleashed an international backlash. At a news conference Thursday, Hashimoto said she'll work to accelerate women's empowerment on the committee, including raising the ratio of women on its executive board to 40%.
I would like to present a new direction this month. One measure is setting up a task force to promote diversity and harmony. And I would like to make proposals to the governing bodies of the Games.
Hashimoto is not without some scandal herself. 7 years ago, she was photographed kissing a male athlete at the Sochi Games while she was head of the Japanese Olympic delegation. Later reports said it was harassment, a claim both sides have denied. She said she deeply regrets the incident and will carry out her role as president in dealing with diversity and gender equality. Tokyo Governor Koike Yuriko weighed in on the new appointment, saying she has high expectations that Hashimoto will organize the Games based on her experience as an athlete. The head of the International Olympic Committee, Thomas Bach, said the IOC warmly welcomes the decision and called her the perfect choice. He added the Tokyo Committee is sending a very important signal with regards to gender equality. People in Tokyo had this to say.
The decision was made behind closed doors, which is not good. Doesn't she have connection to Mr. Mori? There should be more transparency.
I have big expectations because she has a lot of experience. I hope the Games are held safely after the pandemic is contained.
The Games are just over 5 months away. Japan's coronavirus vaccination rollout is off to a smooth start after Wednesday kicked off the first round of shots for healthcare workers. The initial phase of the program will see about 40,000 people get inoculated. Medical workers at 100 hospitals across the country are receiving Pfizer's vaccine. The inoculation on Thursday started in Ibaraki Prefecture, north of Tokyo.
I've been looking forward to this. Now we are at the start line.
These workers at a hospital in Tokyo had a special audience member. Prime Minister Suga Yoshihide was on hand to watch.
We plan to start inoculation for elderly people in April. We want to deliver the vaccine to people across the country as soon as possible.
Health Ministry officials say more than 600 people have been inoculated so far, and there have been no reports yet of serious side effects. Officials reported 445 new infections in the capital on Thursday. 84 people are currently in serious condition. Tokyo and 9 other prefectures remain under a state of emergency. Experts say the medical system in those areas is still strained. They also point out the threat of variants that are spreading in the UK and elsewhere.
It is important to reduce the number of new coronavirus cases sufficiently so that we will be able to detect the spread of variants and thoroughly contain the spread of them.
Omagari says some experts believe the daily tally of new cases should be kept below around 50 to detect the spread of variants. Across Japan, health authorities reported more than 1,500 new cases with 76 deaths. Researchers say COVID-19 vaccinations have started in around 70 countries, but the vaccines don't appear to be evenly distributed globally. In Brazil, indigenous people in the Amazon are receiving the jab. Palestinians in the Gaza Strip have received their first supply after Israel allowed the delivery.
I mustn't cry. Don't cry. Can I close my eyes?
South Africa has imported 80,000 doses, but securing enough for 40 million people is expected to take time. A major scandal erupted in Peru, where inoculations began last week. Nearly 500 politicians and government officials are facing public criticism for getting vaccinations in advance. The UN chief is calling for support for an international framework to ensure fair distribution.
Just 10 countries have administered 75% of all COVID-19 vaccines. Meanwhile, more than 130 countries had not received a single dose.
A scandal involving 4 senior officials of Japan's communications ministry is disrupting debate in the Diet. They're suspected of being wined and dined by the Prime Minister's son. Opposition lawmakers now suspect one of them did not give a straight explanation to the Diet. The scandal was first reported by the weekly magazine Shukan Bunshun. The magazine suggested the officials may have broken a law by accepting gifts or entertainment from interested parties. The Prime Minister's son works for a company involved in satellite broadcasting. One of the officials admitted having been wined and dined, but he told the Diet he did not remember discussing the broadcasting business during those meals. Then on Wednesday, the weekly magazine's website released audio that it says was recorded during a meal. The website suggests the official, the Prime Minister's son, and another person did talk about the broadcasting business. Opposition lawmakers demanded further explanation from the government and the ruling coalition. The communications ministry said the official acknowledged that the audio includes his voice, but the ministry quoted him as saying he does not remember if he discussed anything about the broadcasting business. The ministry said it'll try to submit the result of its in-house inquiry by next Monday. But opposition lawmakers were not satisfied. They refused to engage in debate in a lower house committee meeting.
The explanation by the communications ministry is half-baked and completely insincere. We cannot accept it.
The government's top spokesperson says officials will respond to questions from the opposition in good faith based on the results of the inquiry. Now to Myanmar, where citizens against the military takeover continue their protests despite increasing pressure from security forces. Aung San Suu Kyi remains under house arrest, facing a second charge. Despite a ban on gatherings, demonstrators took to the streets across the country for a 13th consecutive day on Thursday. They're calling for the immediate release of Aung San Suu Kyi and others. In the largest city, Yangon, motorists drove at a snail's pace to show their opposition to the coup, a tactic used to avoid intervention by authorities. Meanwhile, a resident of the country's second largest city, Mandalay, told NHK that security forces fired shots on Wednesday night during a confrontation with striking railway workers.
Rubber bullets dropped onto our roofs, like 2 or 3 shots. When the soldiers couldn't stop us from banging pots, they started using real bullets. I'm not sure whether they fired into the air or not. There were about 40 shots. Everyone was quiet by then.
The military authorities are intensifying their crackdown. A local human rights NGO says nearly 500 people have been detained since the coup on February 1st. Reports from Hong Kong say the media tycoon and pro-democracy activist Jimmy Lai has been rearrested. They say authorities suspect he helped other activists try to flee to Taiwan last August. Lai founded the Apple Daily newspaper. He's already being detained on suspicion of violating the national security law for Hong Kong. He's on trial for allegedly colluding with foreign forces and endangering national security. Lai was indicted in December. He was later granted bail. Hong Kong's top court overturned that last week. Lai made another bail application. The High Court has now turned that down. It's time for world weather with our meteorologist, Sayaka Mori. People in parts of the Middle East were surprised at heavy snow on Wednesday. Sayaka has the details.
A storm which dumped the heaviest snowfall in years over Greece, battered parts of Turkey and also Jerusalem. And we saw snowfall there too. Take a look at this footage. Snow has been hitting the eastern areas of the Mediterranean this week. In Jerusalem, snowplows and power crews were on standby as the winter weather moved through the city. The snowstorm also caused traffic problems for residents. In Istanbul, the white precipitation dusted some of the city's well-known buildings, including the Hagia Sophia and Blue Mosque. Temperature was nearly 3 degrees at the time. We might see more snowfall in the Middle East. Northern Turkey will definitely see more snowfall, and another system will likely pound the Middle East, though it looks like, according to this model, the Damascus region will see white precipitation. Temperatures are going to be as follows on your Friday. 13 in Jerusalem and Istanbul will remain cold, only 4 degrees for the high, but snow might change over to rain there. Baghdad at 17 degrees, but earlier this week, parts of Iraq had 34 degrees, making the warmest temperature ever observed in the nation for the month of February. Meanwhile, snow is piling up once again across the western flank of Japan, and cold air gripped western Japan on Thursday. We saw a car crash in Yamaguchi Prefecture and bare snow in Kochi Prefecture, but snow will likely taper off even in the north by the weekend, and temperatures will be on the rise. It's going to be more like mid-spring on Sunday and Monday in places like Tokyo and Shimonoseki. In the south, we have a newly formed tropical system. This is the first tropical storm of the typhoon season. It's likely to intensify even further, and it could make landfall in Mindanao or the Visayas by the weekend and then head towards the northwest. That's it for me. Stay safe.
In Japan, Seiko Hashimoto has become the first woman president of the Tokyo Olympic Organizing Committee. She said safety is her top concern. China's foreign ministry denies that it is helping Myanmar's military control internet traffic as protests against military rule in Myanmar continue. The World Health Organization launches a targeted Ebola vaccination effort in the Democratic Republic of the Congo after the disease reappeared in eastern DRC. And wildlife officials in the U.S. state of Texas are trying to save thousands of sea turtles threatened by cold weather.
Our top stories.
Confirmed. Perseverance safely on the surface of Mars.
Bit of perseverance pays off. NASA celebrates a textbook landing of its latest rover on Mars. And just minutes after landing, the rover sent its first images from the Red Planet as it begins its exploration of Mars. Comprehensive gun reform, long promised by the Democrats, but can they make it happen now that they control both houses of Congress and the White House? We'll be asking what's stopping them.
Also coming up in the programme, the Iran nuclear deal hangs in the balance as European foreign ministers meet their American counterparts and agree to hold direct talks with Tehran if that's what it takes to break the impasse. And when you're this much of a legend, who needs a statue? Dolly Parton asks her home state to halt plans to build a monument in her honour.